Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm glad to take your phone calls and emails. I've got a few more sound bites from today's impeachment hearing that was going on, but I thought we'd change gears a bit and talk to my friend Ann Coulter, the syndicated columnist, and bang-up column this week, Ann, about, and I have to tell you, I have a number of friends who are prosecutors. One in particular this past weekend said, you have to talk about Boudin, the new district attorney or prosecutor in San Francisco, who has such an extraordinary background. Two cop killers as parents and raised by a terrorist, actually by two terrorists. And
yeah.
And that's what you wrote up, Boudin. How do we explain the fact that one of America's largest cities would choose somebody like this to be effectively the person who decides whether people go to jail or not?
Well, apparently it was a lot of George Soros money. And, you know, I've been joking about this for years, that soon liberals will demand racial quotas for arrests and imprisonment. So you better start getting your numbers up, Asians, and better get your numbers up, white people, because otherwise just a lot of criminals are going to have to go free. But that's what he's promising. At least that there will have to be, you know, for every step of the criminal justice process, you will have to say, well, how many different races are arrested for this crime, and what percentage get booked, and what percentage get bail, blah blah blah. His parents, I mean, the story of these weathermen, sort of annoyed me on networks like Fox, where they'll interview Bill Ayers and let him pass himself off as if, you know, he was just an anti-war protester, just an idealistic anti-war protester. No, the weathermen were monstrous. Read David Horowitz. Read about what's her name, Faye Sender. She was one who was killed by the Black Panthers they were associating with. It is just to smash monogamy, smash decency, smash normality, just mass orgies, and a lot of cop killing and a lot of violence. The incoming DA of San Francisco, his parents were, in fact, two cop killers.
Just so people know, Kathy Boudin and David Gilbert. So
yes, she was the daughter of the radical lawyer Leonard Boudin, who defended, you know, communists and so on and so forth. What I'd written about this, there's a chapter on these radicals in my book, Demonic, appropriate book for what they were doing for the country. I mean, it really was like the French Revolution right here at home. Thank heaven Ronald Reagan was around, and a few other law and order types, and put an end to it. I guess we're seeing little outgrowths of it right now. But the theme of this week's column is something that's always driven me crazy, and we see this continuing. In the book, the author, who knew Kathy Boudin, I think they had gone to private school together, they're very privileged, these radicals, had described how Kathy had to become a radical because she had bad board scores. She couldn't get into a good college. She couldn't get into a good law school. Her brother, by the way, the Republican, went to Harvard and Harvard Law, worked in the first Bush administration. No, I think he worked in the Reagan administration, was appointed to a federal court by the first President Bush. No, poor Kathy, she couldn't get into a selective law school. And so, according to this woman's portrait, and boy, a lot of evidence seems to bear this out, no, I'll be a radical. That'll turn me into a celebrity. Suddenly there are documentaries and you know, Oscar nominations and celebrities coming to her prison cell for participating in a Brinks robbery that left one Brinks guard dead and two cops dead, including the first. Not that Black Lives matter more than white lives, but including, you know, they pretend they always are masquerading as if oh, we're doing this for black people, because, you know, crime has done such wonderful things for black people. But it was the first black police officer on, I think it was the Nyack police force, shot dead. She doesn't care about him, doesn't care about them. But because, I mean, it's just so cool for liberals. Oh, that's great. You hung out with the Black Liberation Army and you killed cops. Harvard suddenly opens its doors, and Yale and Boudin has these impressive qualifications. No, I would like to see his SATs. We know that his mother's SATs weren't very good. And I was reminded, which I get around, I mean, all of these weathermen, as long as you conspired to kill cops, blew up buildings, you will get a cushy job teaching at one of our premier universities in America. And the most recent one, okay, he didn't kill any cops, but I don't know why left-wing activism is treated like a concert pianist, a top athlete, double 800s on the SATs. But that's how our universities treat it. David Hogg, you all remember him, and, you know, sorry, but he was very public about how he had very low SAT scores. He kept being turned down. He was tweeting out about it. Rejected from various non-elite schools. No, Harvard comes along and says, welcome, you came out and denounced the NRA and did that pathetic little one-arm salute. Well, that's you may as well, you know, be quarterback of the football team. Go David Hogg. He's going to Harvard.
And all these connections, including, and you spent more time with the parents than I think it's appropriate. Her dad was proud of her going out and engaging in these crazy activities. And then, you know, Boudin is raised to some extent by William Ayers, the terrorist, and Bernardine Dorn, the terrorist, who are also buddies of our friend Barack Obama.
And who are teaching, again, illustrious positions, running, you know, the School of Social Justice or whatever it is, big fancy position at Northwestern and University of Illinois in Chicago. Wait a second. Positions they never could have gotten if they hadn't conspired to kill cops, blow up buildings, the days of rage. Well, it was just all massive property destruction. Left-wing activism is treated by our universities like you got straight A's and invented the cure for cancer.
Well,
you tried to kill a cop. Yes, Harvard says welcome. So, it seems like it was kind of off point, but it's just something that's always bothered me. How come there's only one case when bad loans are given, like the bad mortgages, when there are bad bonds issued? In every other case, we say, okay, sorry, bank, sorry, bondholders, you're going to have to eat the loss. Should have been more careful about what bonds you bought. Should have been more careful about who you gave mortgage to. No, only in the case of colleges. Well, of course, they've got to be paid 100%. The only question is, do we have the taxpayers do it? Do we hold the students accountable? All these Democrats, notice how all of their plans for eliminating student debt are, you, the taxpayer, pay Harvard and Yale, the institutions that have policies like this, will discriminate against your kids, probably based on their race, in contravention of the Constitution, but we'll have it roll out the red carpet if you've conspired to kill a cop, actually killing a cop. That's so great. Even the second generation gets a benefit from that.
Well, and now he's elected as the San Francisco district attorney. So I guess San Franciscans, although not very many of them, something like 85,000 voted for him, 85,000 voted for the other one. He wins. What's this going to do to law enforcement in a city as big as San Francisco?
Well, I got to say, if I were a cop, among his supporters, they were, during the campaign, they were standing out, chanting, screaming, I can't say the full word, the F word, the BOA, police, but whatever it was.
They spent a bunch of money on it, too.
Well, yeah, whatever their police organization is. So F the police, F the police, F the police. The rooms chanting that. That's going to be the new DA. He's already announced that no public defecation will not be, we won't arrest for that, public urination. No. So I got to say, if I were a cop in San Francisco, I'd head for the hills.
Read her column. It's a great column about Boudin, the newly elected San Francisco district attorney. And if you're a law-abiding citizen in that city, just be careful, because I have a feeling it won't just cut in favor of the criminals, it'll likely cut against some of the legitimate law-abiding citizens should you run afoul of the law. Also, check out Ann's latest book, Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Has Lost Its Collective Mind. Annie, thank you very much. Coming up, fact-checkers, more important now in the era of fake news than ever before. But what can we do if the fact-checkers themselves aren't telling the truth?